Sissy had taken to her bed. No one knew what to do with her anymore. Since they cut off her hair and blackened her eyes, she rarely left the confines of a narrow room, and when she did, it was only to visit the bathroom, or, with hurried furtive steps, the Greek delicatessen directly next door. Here she would buy cigarettes and the few morsels of food her body could still accept. Cake, biscuits, chocolate. Then, clutching the packages close to her chest, and with hunched shoulders, she'd walk quickly back through the darkened hallway and reach the bolt hole of her room before anyone had a chance to speak to her. If you knocked on her door, the response would be something along the lines of, "Fuck off, I'm not in," or "Go away, I'm sleeping." And only in the middle of the night would you hear her moving about, pacing the worn floorboards in her black high-heeled slippers, or shifting the furniture around into new configurations. Occasionally, the French girl who lived in the basement would visit her, and they'd remain cloistered together for an hour or two, talking about who knows what. But I imagine that even then Sissy would not have left her bed, preferring as always to hold court from there. With the dark circles of her eyes and the pale skin, and with her head propped up against the stained, rancid pillows, she could have been the portrait of some 19th century consumptive, fading away in a nameless and hellish garret. The only other visitor, and then only each second or third day, was Henry, a sleazy and down-at-heel Glaswegian street junkie, who would bring Sissy the scrapings and remnants of some rap he'd hustled, or, failing that, maybe some old cottons he'd filched from someone. Dried up and yellow, sometimes caked with blood, these were strong enough to give a hit when mixed and cooked up together in the large, soot-blackened spoon that Sissy kept in a bedside table. It was as though she was willing herself into a state of deliberate non-existence, unable as she was to face the world outside now that everything had gone wrong and her friends had deserted her. Wrapped in a shadowy cloak of invisibility, she had no desire to communicate with anyone. The fizz and life had gone out of her, and she wanted only to be left alone with her sickness, wretchedness, and paranoia. And Henry, it is true, loved her in his own sweet way, she having, or not as the case may be, allowed him to fuck her at some point in the immediate or distant past, exercising her woman's right to bestow favours upon even the least worthy of recipients. Or perhaps she was just expressing her gratitude that he alone, out of all her multifarious former acolytes, had remained loyal to the cause, bringing her his humble offerings, and ensuring that the pain and depression of withdrawal did not overwhelm her completely. As for how I'll cope with my re-entry into normal society, well, who can tell? Sometimes I look at all these maniacs going to work each day with their closed, miserable faces, and I really wonder if it's me who is crazy or them. I mean, do they just appear to be sleepwalking along a treadmill to their deaths, or do they actually know something that I don't? Of course, if they do, then the joke is on me, but I really don't think they do. I think it's just a case of everyone getting sucked into the machine, one way or another, and before they realizing it, becoming trapped and locked into a regime that everyone claims to hate, but which they are actually addicted to. You want nice, fashionable clothes so you can look good and be attractive to other people. You want access to news and information because knowledge is power and you need it to succeed. You want to buy a house in a good neighborhood where you can feel secure and at ease with the world. You want a fast, modern car with all the latest gadgets so you can travel from A to B in comfort in the shortest possible time. You want fax machines, answer machines, mobile phones, computers, things which are supposed to make life easier and less complicated, but which of course have exactly the opposite effect. And if you don't want these things, then certainly you'll be regarded by the majority of people as some kind of cretin or social misfit. And if life as a latter-day tribal outcast doesn't appeal, then you'll have to find a job that will earn you enough money to buy these things. And this job will be more or less demeaning depending on your level of education and or family connections. Alternatively, you can start your own small business and put yourself in hock to the banks, become one more cog in the bigger machine, and be in turn either a provider of jobs or an exploiter of labour, depending on which way you choose to look at things. But whatever the case, you will be some kind of functionary, fulfilling a role in a society that you neither understand nor particularly feel a part of. And then the kids come along, and of course they think they want things too. They also have their own system of status symbols programmed into them at an ever earlier age. Expensive trainers, computer games, CD players, etc., etc. And the image makers and advertising men have been so successful here that if you don't buy your child all the things that the kid down the street has, then you stand a good chance of giving him or her irreparable psychological damage, an inferiority complex for life. And so the machine tightens its grip. You get sucked in deeper and deeper, and the only way you can stand it is to laugh it all off and pretend that you have grown up and accepted the facts of life. It's not simply stupidity. It's just that everybody is in the same boat, and therefore some kind of silent compact has been made so that people don't feel so bad about themselves and about the way things in general are going. I hate the fuckers who supposedly control this machine, who reap the benefits and look down from the heights with deep satisfaction. And it gives me great pleasure each time they fuck up and increasingly expose themselves to scrutiny. But in seeking to be neither sheep nor wolf, I've actually ended up by becoming a cockroach. So where do I go from here? There has to be some other way besides compliance or callous exploitation, out-and-out rejection and rebellion having led me to where I am now. Some kind of working around and between things, of finding and making contact with people who have similar ideas, but have found some way to exist creatively at the margins without succumbing to negativity and despair. I guess it's a hard, lonely road to travel, and you have to live by your wits and instincts if you choose to take it. No company pension or health schemes, no pay scales or annual increments. But I suppose being a junkie for 10 years is good training for this. I'll second guess the power addicts and control freaks, the greed heads and anal retentive manager types all the way down the fucking line. And even if it means I end up shadow boxing my own reflection in an infinitely receding hall of mirrors, it's got to be more interesting and rewarding than what I'm doing right now. But for the moment, I'm just going to concentrate on getting well. Once the drugs are out of my system, I'll teach myself how to think and feel again. And then I'll take a long, hard look and see how the world appears from the other side of the street. The end.